Putin flips the script on Zelensky and may be rewriting drone warfare inside a secretive weapons lab. Revealed how Russia is allegedly turning captured Ukrainian drones into Frankenstein weapons for the battlefield. Is this Putin's next game-changing move as he prepares what could be a massive revenge strike on Ukraine?
I am forced to start with the tragic events that you have surely heard about, namely the tragic events in the Luhansk People's Republic. Last night, the neo-Nazi regime that seized power in Kiev carried out a terrorist attack on the student dormitory of the Starobelsk Pedagogical College. At night, when the students were sleeping. According to reports, I have been listening to report from the head of the Republic, Pasechnik Leonid Ivanovich, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Emergency Situations, the Director of the FSB. It is currently known that 6 people died, 39 were injured, 15 are missing, as the debris is still being cleared. We will certainly do everything to help the victims and the families of the deceased. I emphasize, this is important. There are no military facilities, intelligence facilities, or related services.
RBC-Ukraine reported on May 23 that Russian forces are allegedly rebuilding captured Ukrainian drones for combat use. The report, citing Russia's TASS, said the laboratory is operating inside occupied territory in the Donetsk region. The Russian facility is reportedly dismantling damaged or captured Ukrainian UAVs to recover usable parts and components. RBC-Ukraine said around 300 to 400 combat FPV drones are being assembled there every 15 days. According to the report, one operational drone may require parts taken from 5 or 6 captured UAVs. The lab is also said to be processing roughly 1,500 Ukrainian drones every 2 weeks. Russian forces are reportedly using recovered Ukrainian motherboards, motors, frames, and other salvaged components. The drones are said to be intercepted through electronic warfare systems before being transported to the facility. RBC-Ukraine estimated that, if accurate, the lab could meet about 25% of Russia's weekly drone needs. At least 4 people were killed and 35 children were wounded in a Ukrainian UAV attack on May 22. Reuters reported that Ukraine allegedly struck a student dormitory in Russian-controlled Luhansk. Putin said the dormitory had been deliberately targeted and instructed the military to prepare for retaliation.
I am forced to start with the tragic events that you have surely heard about, namely the tragic events in the Luhansk People's Republic. Last night, the neo-Nazi regime that seized power in Kiev carried out a terrorist attack on the student dormitory of the Starobelsk Pedagogical College. At night, when the students were sleeping. According to reports, I have been listening to report from the head of the Republic, Pasechnik Leonid Ivanovich, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Emergency Situations, the Director of the FSB. It is currently known that 6 people died, 39 were injured, 15 are missing, as the debris is still being cleared. We will certainly do everything to help the victims and the families of the deceased. I emphasize, this is important. There are no military facilities, intelligence facilities, or related services near the dormitory. Therefore, there is no reason to say that the shells hit the building due to our air defense systems, electronic warfare. No one can say that they tried to hit some object, and the UAVs were shot down by our own means and allegedly accidentally hit this building. The strike was not accidental. It occurred in 3 waves of 16 UAVs in the same place. Of course, we will investigate the details. They will be investigated. Appropriate conclusions will be drawn. But it is clear to us, once again, it becomes obvious. Who are we dealing with? Who are we fighting against and for what? This is a manifestation of neo-Nazism. This once again confirms the terrorist nature of the Kiev regime. Once again, I want to, in this regard, I have already done this, appeal to the servicemen of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not follow criminal orders, illegitimate, corrupt junta. Otherwise, you yourselves become accomplices in these crimes. Although the reasons for such criminal behavior of the Kiev regime are understandable. You know this better than anyone else. These are constant failures at the front, surrendering positions of settlements, territories. The situation at the front for the armed forces of Ukraine is gradually turning from difficult and critical to catastrophic. Neither Western aid, which is regularly embezzled, helps, but they simply cannot resist. They cannot resist non-violent mobilization when people are caught on the streets like stray dogs and then thrown to the front. In this regard, desertion is catastrophically growing for the enemy. It is becoming large-scale. The situation for the ruling elite is aggravated by the corrupting, all-consuming corruption that is covered by the regime's leaders. In fact, they themselves are participants in the corruption schemes, which is why they then help each other flee the country, escaping to Israel, to other countries, abroad. It is well known to everyone, both in Ukraine and in the world, that the Ukrainian authorities steal from everything, just from everything. It has come to military property and personal protective equipment intended for those who are driven to the front like cattle, driven to die for those who plunder Ukraine and foreign aid. The Kiev regime undoubtedly needs such crimes to divert attention from the events happening both at the front and in the country, to provoke a response in Russia. And then, we know this, we have been through it many times, to blame everything on us, on Russia, on our country, all the escalations and all the consequences of such crimes. I repeat, we have been through this many times. Nevertheless, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia has been instructed to inform international organizations and the international community about this crime. Of course, we understand that in such cases it is impossible to limit ourselves to statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Therefore, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation has been ordered to present its proposals. And now I would ask you to stand and honor the memory of the deceased.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.